Hello, Internet, and welcome. Hi. How are we all doing? I hope we are being broadcast to the world. Spot on. See, I told you I'm a technical savant. Absolutely flawless. Hello. Can we not hear you? I have spoken too soon. Yeah. You two should be coming through. I don't know why you're not. Are you just not coming through at all? Well, what about now?
What about now? Let us see. Let us hear.
Hello?
Yes, now we are coming through.
Now we're coming through,
Nice.
right.
Nice.
Right, well, I thought I was being intelligent in my OBS-ness, and clearly I was not. Hi, I'm DM Dan, the intelligent guy that thought he was being clever in OBS, and welcome to Explorers of Elsewhere Live, where we are just going to take a little moment, and I'd say a little moment, probably a couple of hours at most, to peruse. Welcome to the Explorers of Elsewhere Book Club. We are here to who does new rules? We are here to go through the Daggerheart Rulebook. It has officially released today. Hooray! And we are excited for this because yesterday we had our session 0 for campaign 3 in the Elsewhere setting, the Titan Isles, which is going to be a 20 episode campaign set in the Elsewhere setting using the Daggerheart rule set. There's been like a lot of buzz and excitement around this in the TTRPG stratosphere. So it's really exciting to kind of have our hands on it, get a chance to read through it. I've been very busy trying to get campaign 3 ready. Livy and Nate. Oh, I'm joined by Livy and Nate. Hello.
Hello.
So Livy and Nate, you got access to the PDF rules today when they launched. So whilst I've kind of gently flicked through this book over the weekend, you guys are kind of coming in pretty fresh-faced, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've just been sitting there refreshing my feeds, just like, come on, rules.
Yes. So basically what we're going to do this evening is kind of flick through the rules. We played through the beta playtest, and you can see that sort of like the actual proper Daggerheart playtest, and then Tales from Elsewhere, which was the Elsewhere version of our Daggerheart playtest. So we're au fait with the Daggerheart rules. I think it's just going to be interesting for us to look at what's the same, what's changed, and then like we'll lead into sort of like how these new rules are affecting our character builds for the 5-player characters in campaign 3. So now that Demiplane, a massive shout out to Demiplane, for like we've had a look at the characters on the character builders, and you two have noticed that there's been some significant changes, just where for reasons that we'll find out. But if you're interested in Daggerheart, hello Sheldon, hello, welcome. If you're watching this, we are currently running a bit of a competition. So as I say, campaign 3 is due to start. The amazing folks over at Demiplane, who are hosting Daggerheart Nexus, which is like the digital copy of this rule set. They have given us 5 copies, 5 codes to hand out to you, our wonderful viewers. So we're running a bit of a competition. The competition fundamentally is because Elsewhere is a collaborative world. We would like you to help fill the world out for us. So we are looking for people to create an NPC like a short-ish description that we can then drop into our world. But hopefully in campaign 3, an NPC that our players can bump into, that they can kind of interact with, and yeah, we'll see where this kind of character goes. But this will be a chance for you to kind of make a mark in an Explorers of Elsewhere campaign. And basically our 5 favourite NPCs will be the ones that we import in, and then the creators of those NPCs will get a copy of the Daggerheart Nexus rules, which I'll basically be sending out to you after. We've already had some NPCs rolling in, and some of them sounding pretty interesting. So yeah, just like a name, a short description, what they might do, what their personality's like, just a couple of pointers for me to be able to play them. And yeah, we look forward to seeing what you come up with, and good luck. Good luck. So, enough prattling. Shall we?
Yeah, why not?
Okay.
Let's do it.
Amazing. Wonderful. Beautiful. A sea of blue. Okay, so I apologize in advance. I've done my absolute best to get the cat cam, which is this cam right here, I've repurposed it, so there's going to be no Daisy tonight, but there is going to be some Daggerheart. But I think the cam has like burnt the focus range of looking at Daisy and the cat bit behind me, because it's just refusing to like properly focus. But we'll highlight the important bits.
Has Daisy put her own like soft filter on the camera? So
I think she might have.
Best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It could just be cat fur. It's just coming it all up.
She's getting older, and
She
still
needs
wants
a
to look
little
younger.
filter on there.
Yeah.
Amazing. So, well, we've got a contents page as we would expect to. So glancing through this, a lot of the stuff on the contents page was basically very similar to what was in the beta bit. The new, like the fleshed out sections, are things like the campaign frames up in the top corner. So the campaign frames are pre-built campaign settings, and there's some interesting ones in there that have got me a little bit excited. We'll talk about that in a bit. I think, how between the two of you, how in depth are we going to be?
I think we could easily do a little overview of everything. I think also having like a little chat about what we thought might change, or what like we're surprised actually changed.
Yes.
Or things we didn't know before.
Yeah.
Things we didn't know before, and now we're like, oh, that was
or things that I knew before and Nathan didn't know.
Yes.
No, I might have known.
Yes, we'll come to that soon enough. So basically, I'm just thinking like the first section is an introduction. It's like, welcome to Daggerheart, using the book, what do you need to play? I'm gonna be a bit callous and say like this section, if you're a TTRPG fan, it's going to be very familiar to you. I think what is interesting, this was in the beta, but like the touchstones on page 6, where they talk about what has inspired Daggerheart. That's like, it's 13th Age Apocalypse Keys, Apocalypse World, Blades in the Dark, City of Mist, Cortex Prime, Cypher System, Dishonored, Dungeons and Dragons, Flee, Mortals, For the Queen, Genesis, Lady Blackbird, Masks, Pathfinder, Shadowrun, The Quiet Years, The Wild Sea, Slug Blaster, not Slug Baster, Slug Blaster.
Just based on slugs.
Yeah, like just from the TTRPGs itself, it occurs to me that is a wide gamut of different styles of game. I mean, so for example, there are some that have similarities. Like 13th Age is almost like the Pathfinder equivalent of 4th edition D&D, I would argue. I've got that on the shelf behind me. But like Blades in the Dark plays wildly different to D&D, which, like, it's interesting that they've got the Quiet Year, which Livy and Nate, you two are using privately in your other group to design a world with. Yeah, I think
own
it's just
private world.
our own private world. Yeah, interesting to see what they've kind of acknowledged as being like inspiration. Hi Theo, welcome. Hello. Yeah, like there's some books, so Song of Ice and Fire, Lord of the Rings, Wheel of Time. That's all absolutely bang on. Borderlands, Dragon Age Inquisition, the Elder Scrolls series. Yeah, amazing stuff. And it's cool how they have in this kind of special appreciation what it specifically they've pulled from bits. So, for example, with our Nate, with our experience of Blades in the Dark, helped shape narrative flow of the game, and the playbooks inspired a lot of the character sheet development. So it's interesting that that's what they've kind of pulled from that. Yes. So yeah, I think a lot of this, golden rules, rulings over rules. What do you need to play? Dice cards, a table, etc., etc. One thing I would say, I'm not sure. I assume that in the PDF version that you two have, you've got artwork.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
This
the artwork
beautiful
is incredible.
This beautiful
Absolutely
boy.
incredible.
This beautiful boy. I think when I saw the rules for the Qatari, the cat people, I think my Final Fantasy 14 was shining through, because I just imagined a literal tide of Twinkie cat boys.
You can still have them as well.
You absolutely can, yeah. But then to see sort of these almost like these anthropomorphic tigers, that's cool.
I think the thing about a lot of the character, you have furbolgs, and you have satyrs and fauns and all this kind of stuff. I think the thing that I really like about Daggerheart is that they are very much this is a general term, but you can go anywhere. Cat people can go anywhere from you've got cat ears all the way to you are a full-blown.
You are a cat.
You are a cat.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I like that because it kind of gives you a little bit of variety, and I think
Precisely.
you're not in a box. I don't like being boxed in.
No,
I think with this kind of stuff.
That is, and in actual fact, the ancestries for Daggerheart, when we get to when we get to the campaign frames later, it kind of goes through how the ancestries would just be wildly different, suited to fit the campaign, the different worlds. So that's fun. Right, so chapter 1, preparing for adventure. Just some real kind of good informational advice, effectively saying if you're going to play in this relatively kind of stock fantasy setting, what you're going to need a normal realm, like a people realm. You're going to need a heavenly realm. You're going to need a hell-y realm. You're going to need a spacey realm, and that's about it. And then you can
all bases are covered.
Yeah. So yeah, it mentions the core realms are the basis of the world building. But I think in the grand scheme of things, almost every single fantasy setting ever has got a living world, a heavenly world, a good afterlife, a bad afterlife, and space. So magic and spells. So one thing I did, it took me a couple of hours to figure out where are the character abilities, and then I realized it's all on the cards, right?
Yeah.
So they aren't in the book. I guess that does mean that sort of if new classes come out, for example, well, we'll come back to the classes, because I've realized how they've implemented the classes is also kind of interesting. From the get-go, they give you a text box on how to reflavor your game. So again, there's a campaign frame that suggests that magic isn't magic. Magic is actually technology.
Magic is bullets.
Yes. So it's the whole sort of thing where if there's science you don't understand, it seems like magic. It's that kind of idea. You could say that your rogue's magic takes the form of gadgets and inventions. Instead of magically creating a dark cloud, they drop a smoke grenade. Stuff like that. So it's good that they, I think a lot of people will reflavor anyway, but it's good that that's there from the beginning. Character creation. So we've got, again, I think this will be relatively simple. We've got the current classes. So I guess the first thing we all notice is that the classes and subclasses were as they were in the beta.
Yeah.
So nothing got added, nothing got taken out.
No changes.
So yeah, we've got Bard, Druid, Guardian, Ranger, Rogue, Seraph, Sorcerer, Warrior, and Wizard. And yeah, again, I think most of those are pretty self-explanatory. Some interesting takes where the D&D fighter is arguably split between like Guardian and Warrior, but then you've kind of got like Paladin. Yeah, it's cool. It's cool stuff. And then the rest of character creation, as you would expect, is basically pick a class, fill out your character sheet, pick an ancestry. So I appreciate it's a bit blurry, but the stock ancestries from the rulebook are Clank, which are like the mecha people, Dracona, which are the dragon people, dwarves, elves, fairies, which are like
bugs,
sugar plum fairies. The fawns are like the satyr likes. Furbolgs are the big giants. The furbolgs are the furbolgs.
Goat
people, yeah. Fungrel are mushroom people. Galapa, turtle people. Giants are giants. Goblins are goblins. Halflings, humans. Infernices, Inferni. They are your sort of like hells. Yeah, the tieflings. The Qatari, the orcs, the ribbits are the frog people, and the Simia are the monkey people. So yeah, pick your ancestry, pick your community, which is like a background of sorts, how your character grew up, how to assign your character sheets. So Daggerheart simply uses modifiers for the ability scores. So you might be able to just make out that you assign a +2, a +2, a +1, a +1, a 0, a 0, and a -1. Just about. Yeah, and that's kind of the only thing that's the only thing they really worry about is what is the modifier to your role. One thing I would say, I would also add, I don't think it's the case, but you two might be able to correct me, having made more characters than me. Ability scores completely freeform, so there's no like your heritage, your class, your community doesn't affect your ability scores.
No.
So whatever kind of idea or fantasy you want to create with your character, you've got a completely free canvas to do that.
I did see on Demiplane, if you're making your character sheet on Demiplane, they come up with a suggestion. So if you're not really sure on what you can put in, so say for like a bard, and you're not completely sure what you can put in, it comes up with a suggestion. Well, you can put your +2 in your presence, you can put a +1 in your knowledge, put a -1 in your strength, stuff like that.
But yeah, it doesn't have any effect on, so it doesn't matter. You could be a giant rogue. You're not going to be forced into, I have to be a certain type of character. Like, I have to be a halfling or something small and nimble to be able to do something,
Yeah, and that, I think, again, that's because I think some, you can come up with some really interesting character concepts when you pick up, like, so if you just turn around and went, oh, you know what, I'm going to play a halfling guardian.
Yeah.
Just this little 3.5 foot tall pillar box.
Yeah.
Just stands in people's way.
Taking all the damage.
Like a small anvil.
Yes. So yeah, the rest of the character creation, as we might expect. So additional information. Evasion is how hard you are to hit. Hit points and stress. So hit points are your health. Stress is, it's almost like this like pseudo renewable resource. You spend stress to do stuff, like to do cool stuff on your character sheet. Sometimes enemies might inflict stress upon you. if you are maxed out on stress, you start taking extra damage. But then when certain things will let you reduce stress. So that's an interesting mechanic that's just universal across all the classes. Big one: hope and fear. So this is one of the big selling points for Daggerheart. Instead of like a D20 or a 2D6, Daggerheart uses 2 D12s. One is a hope die, one is a fear die. Whenever you make an action roll, you roll both the dice, add them together, and then you also check to see which of the results were higher. If it's a hope, if the hope was higher, then you look at the outcome of your roll, and like something good happens. I know it's exciting, pup. And then if the fear dice is higher, then like whatever happens. But then also there's a complication or a development that works counter to the player characters. So it always means that like every time the dice is rolled, like the narrative is going to jink one way or the other.
Yeah, so you can still roll really high. You can still roll like a 20, but it could be with fear. So you could do it, but at a consequence.
You pick the lock on the door flawlessly. The door swings open silently, and as you boldly stand up, like proudly stand up with your chest puffed out, you realize that the castle guards monthly meeting is taking place in this room, and they all turn to look at you.
This broom cupboard.
Yes, yeah. So starting equipment, weapons, armor, other starting items like torches, rope, tents. The background, so it says create your background, which is very much a freeform thing. The characters are your own. You figure out where they came from, what they were doing up until this point, and then we move on. Cool. Another big exciting thing for you two, and again, if you notice any differences, please let me know. Experiences are actually kind of low-key genius.
Yeah, they're good stuff.
I love it.
But for the audience, what are experiences?
So experiences are something that the player makes up themselves. That is part of what their character is. So it will be like a skill that they're particularly good at. It will be a background that they have. It will be some sort of speciality that is completely made up by the player. And when they're used, they add an additional, depending on your level. I think it's like +2 at the beginning, pretty much, +2 to your dice roll, which I think is amazing for character character creation as a thing anyway, because then you can add your own flavor to the character. And if you want to, I do remember that this is a rule, that you do have to spend 1 hope to use an experience.
It's not, you can't just freely
you just can't freely use
bam.
them. And I think a lot of it does have to also be to the DM's discretion as well, or the GM's discretion. You can't just say, you just can't have an experience just like, I'm good at everything.
Yeah.
And then
my experience is genius.
Yeah. But I guess also spending the hope means that you can't, even if you do have an experience that says I'm great at everything, you're not going to be able to use it all the time because you won't have enough hope.
Resource you can't get this. But I think it's also, I sort of adding on to that, I think it does just give depth to characters, because sometimes I feel like as a player, like you're just like coming into a situation with your character, you're like, well, my character actually like lived on a ship for 10 years, so he probably would have knowledge in this, but I can't have on other role-playing games you can't just like roll for I'm good at shipbuilding, but if you have that, then you can be like, well, that's actually, it makes your character feel more involved. And I think as we've played this through with the other campaign, because as you level up you get more experiences, it also feels like your character evolves as you go, so your experiences can then be part of the campaign. So you say, oh, we had to spend 20 nights in the wilderness, that's reshaped my character to what they are now, so now they are great at whatever,
And I guess to draw kind of direct parallels to D&D, primarily because so many people know what's up with D&D.
It's the biggest one, isn't it?
Like, I sometimes feel like, let's say, for example, you spent 20, like a whole level out in the wilderness. There's a part of me that thinks how many people will go, oh, you know what? I'm going to take a level in Ranger when we next level up to represent that. That doesn't seem. I don't feel that happens very often. Whereas with an experience saying, I'm going to take like outdoorsmanship, that might be more likely, and also kind of in a way more usable. But also, it can just be really, really powerful. So, quickly flicking back to the classes, if we were comparing to D&D, I've seen a fair number of people saying, "Oh, there's no warlock." I mean, the way I would do it is pick, for example, sorcerer, who have access to the midnight domain, I believe, which is the more kind of spooky stuff, and then you have an experience called Signed a Deal with the Devil. And then arguably, I would argue that experience would then make you feel more warlocky than some D&D warlocks feel.
Exactly that.
Because now that core concept, that core fantasy is almost front and center of your character. Like the GM will be looking at your experience, made a deal with the devil, and then will be directly feeding into that. Like I know a lot of D&D DMs might, for example, pick a warlock and then just hammer them with patron plot lines. But this just seems a lot more kind of fundamental, right, with the experiences. So really, really cool for that.
Yeah. Sort of relating. Oh no, you got it.
And I think when you have a character and you have those experiences and you want to use them because it is to your advantage to use them, then you are pushing your character more into that to be like, oh, actually, this might affect the fact that I've made a deal with the devil, so I want to roll for this because I've got this and this happened, rather than it just your backstory becoming an afterthought.
Precisely.
I think it's nice in experiences as well. I didn't realize. I don't know if this was in the beta rules, but I read it earlier on today that you can change your experiences as well. So if your character has an experience that you start off with and it's barely utilized, or you don't actually feel like it's actually this doesn't really belong to my character that much, you can then, with obviously discussions with your GM, you can go, actually at next level, can I change this to something else that more sort of reflects their character now, which I think is really cool.
If you start the campaign off as like a happy Mr. Fantastic meme, and then the Mr. Incredible meme, and then you're like towards the end of the campaign, you're the black and white fuzzy version. Change your
after you've died and got on battle scars, and you're now down to only one hope slot.
Yes. So I'm going to flip forward to page 24, the domains. So this is the interesting way that Daggerheart deals with classes. So currently there are 9 domains. Arcana, Blade, Bone, Codex, Grace, Midnight, Sage, Splendor, and Valor. And those 9 come together so that each of the classes is a mix, basically has choices from 2 of the domains around the circle. So I guess what I find interesting about this is that whilst, so Arcana, for example, which is shared between Sorcerer and Druid. Arcana is shared between Sorcerer and Druid, but and therefore kind of pairs with either Sage or Midnight, which are these 2 here. In the future, I guess you could end up kind of saying, well, what happens when we mix Arcana with Bone or with the Blade? So, do they want to release a Spellblade class in the future, like an Eldritch Knight type fight? That's an option there. And then, what happens if you mix these 2, or these 2, or these 2? And someone's crunched the numbers, and it's 70 additional classes that could be created.
But surely that comes in when you start multi-classing as well. So from level 5, you can start multi-classing. Yes. So depending on what other sort of other class you take on, you are then also getting in on those either 1 or even 2 additional domains at the same time.
I guess we haven't had a strong look at multi-classing, but no, you're absolutely right, because you could end up having four domains to pick from.
Yeah, if you multi-class, you could have 4.
Wah. Okay, so next couple of pages are breaking down the domain cards. So all of the class abilities are on these little domain cards. So they come in a separate little box, which I've kind of opened up and gone through. So you get these little cards. So if you're playing in person, you can have them. You basically have a little deck of cards to play around with. So that's kind of giving you information on that, general information on your classes. Glowy person intrigues me. Okay, and then we move on to the classes themselves. So I think if we could probably segue. Obviously, we've got 2 of the players from campaign 3, and we are going to start on Bard. Is there anything here, Nate, that you've noticed that is wildly different? Or anything?
Not particularly, no. I last night, after we finished playing, after we finished the stream yesterday, I did actually take a screenshot of my character sheet just to double check that sort of when the new rules rolled in, that if anything had changed, and literally nothing has changed as part of Bard. One thing that I did notice, and it was when you were showing the book yesterday, Dan, was that there's something called a specialized feature, a specialization feature, which I don't think was part of. So they've got the specialization feature and the mastery feature, and I don't think they were originally in the game, unless it was because we never got up to those higher levels.
No, we did. We did it after when we got to level 5 in Tales.
Right.
We had a specialization.
Oh,
well, so it says here you can gain when you level up.
So you can choose to have it or not. So that you can specialize in something, because I think me and Dan, not you, we're talking about it because his specialization as a warrior was something ridiculous.
Sure, obviously.
And he was like, I'm totally taking this. And I was like, yeah. But yeah, they were there before, but it's a chosen. You don't automatically get it. You have to, instead of doing something else, you choose to specialize.
Right. Okay.
So instead of taking an extra experience when you level up, you choose to specialize instead.
So it is like a class feat almost, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So literally a class feature. Okay, so that's cool. So Nate, you're saying that the rally dice looks pretty similar to what it was. So you can you can heal people's stress. You can add it to their roles. That's cool. The Bard has 2 subclasses. Please focus. Troubadour and Wordsmith. So the Troubadour, a Woosmith. So the Troubadour, if you want to play music to bolster your allies, and their foundational features revolve around playing songs. And the Wordsmith, if you want to use clever wordplay and captivate crowds. And that foundation is similar to Troubadour, but you buff your allies basically. So yeah, that is Bard. So and from classes, sort of you have these kind of features. Every class has a hope feature. So you can spend 3 hope to do a thing that is kind of related to your class. So for Bard, for example, you spend 3 hope to temporarily distract a target within close range, giving them a -2 penalty to their difficulty, which is actually huge because in lieu of, say, a D&D DC, you have difficulties in Daggerheart, and that is basically whenever you're kind of rolling against the enemy, so like rolling to hit them, rolling to resist an effect, or you use the difficulty. So applying a -2 penalty to that difficulty It's huge.
Oh, that's interesting. That's not actually updated on my demi plan. So in the book, it's called Make a Scene. So spend 3 hope to temporarily distract a target within close range, giving them a -2 penalty to their difficulty. But on demi plane at the moment, I think I still have the old one when it says when you or an ally close to you makes a presence roll and either succeeds with fear or fails, spend 3 hope to negate the roll's consequences by intervening.
Okay. I think this is better.
Yeah. Which is interesting because like there's parts of Demiplane that has updated. So like all of us have realized that like our severe damage threshold is massively depleted by quite a bit. But it seems that there are some features and bits that haven't actually updated yet.
Well, so speaking of the hope features, so Theo in chat is saying, yeah, the rogue one's changed. So you originally could spend hope to increase your sneak attack. Now it's spend 3 hope to gain a bonus to your evasion, which is like your AC, until the next time an attack succeeds against you. Sneak attack has changed as well. Okay. Yeah, it looks. I think Dagger. Well, it's literally. I think this released at like 5 o'clock UK time.
Yeah.
So I think over the space of I feel sorry for anyone who was in like Australia. Hello, if you're watching from Australia, because you would have been like, yeah, May the 20th is here, Daggerheart. And you just have to wait another 12 hours. Cool. So yeah, that's about it. Yeah, with the classes, the class pages. I mean, this is it. The next page is Druid, because a lot of the customization comes out of the
domain cards.
Cards.
And I like that. I think as well, out just from reading the rule book, because I find sometimes when you're reading, like trying to like build your character, or whatever, it's just like an absolute like overwhelming amount of stuff. You're just like, oh, maybe I'll be a bard. I'll look at these 100 pages of a load of different options that I could maybe take, and it's just like, actually, let's just get it down to the nitty gritty. Annoyingly, my hope feature has changed for the worse. So...
Okay, well, we'll come to that in a bit. We'll kind of gloss over some of the other classes. Druid. So this is what Tim's going to be playing with. I mean, I played a Druid for a session, and the Druid's Hope feature, I don't think I remember seeing that, so that might be new.
You might not have had it when you created He Who Shall Not Be Named.
True. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what Tim makes of that. So I should say for Druids, it's always been a bit of a bane of mine running D&D Druids, animal form, like beast form, which is such an integral part of like the fantasy of fantasy druids. But the way that Daggerheart approaches it is you just get these sort of like archetypes. So agile scout, pack predator, scout, a wooing dog, and then you get like bigger tier archetypes as you go up in level. But then if you decide to become a powerful beast, it's then completely up to you to tell the GM what that powerful beast is, and then you just get some abilities. It gives you examples, but yeah, so that's cool.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the running theme of Daggerheart is the more loose feel, make it your own, rather than like, oh, I guess I'm going to be a spider, a sparrow, or a whatever. Yeah. You know, it's just like I can be anything small.
Precisely. Right, so Livy, we have parked at Guardian.
Yeah.
So, frontline tank, spend 3 hope to clear 2 armor slots. I mean, that sounds pretty good for someone.
Before it was 3.
Oh, was it? Again, to be fair, I mean, I was having a look, and one thing I have noticed overall, because like the damage thresholds, which is it relates to sort of like when you're attacked. So if you're hit for like 10 damage, you don't take 10 damage. You instead look at your your damage thresholds. You have a major threshold and a severe threshold, and then basically where that damage lies between those thresholds, or either like beneath major, which is minor, higher than major, which is major, or higher than severe, which is severe, you then take like 1, 2, or 3 hit points of damage. But what was interesting, I noticed for Guardian, Stalwart specifically, which is what your Guardian is going to be, when you take physical damage, you can. Oh no, wait, not that one. Where was I reading it? Well, maybe that has changed.
Mm-hmm.
So you can spend 2 armor slot. Basically, you spend armor to sort of like reduce damage. I think I've lost. What was I reading then? I've lost it. Maybe it's changed. To be fair, maybe I looked at it in demiplane.
What were you looking for?
The bit that reduces all damage that you take.
Oh, yes. So, yeah, that's on my demiplane.
Yeah. What's it under?
Let me have a little look. Subclass. When you take physical damage, always reduce it by your armor score before applying it to your thresholds.
Is that a foundational feature?
It just is on my subclass. So it just says stalwart subclass, and then that's my rather than my foundational.
It might be Iron Will. Under foundation features, when you take physical damage, you can mark an additional armor slot to reduce the severity.
It was like a passive, yeah. It was maybe that is gone. Well,
no,
yeah, it's not the end of the world, because I've noticed that the damage that monsters do has been reduced compared to beta, but so like thresholds have come down, but so has the damage coming into your players.
Okay.
So I think it's either a bit more leveled, or it's a bit softer at like lower tier, gets a bit spicier at higher tier. But I mean, as a Guardian, being able to reduce your damage, so you have an ability, I'm pretty sure, that lets you just like half damage anyway. But you can reduce it 2 stages with 2 armor slots, whereas everyone else is only reducing it by 1. Yeah.
And I have like triple the amount of armor slots than everyone.
Well, yes. Yeah, you've got like 9, haven't you?
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's cool. And then just to kind of make sure the Guardian isn't, for example, a bit of a one-trick pony, the class feature Unstoppable is almost a bit like Barbarian ragey.
It's a bit ragey. Yeah, it's just as long as you keep hitting, you keep making.
You do more damage, you take less damage. You can't be like debuffed. Yeah, that's pretty cool. So yeah, Guardian is going to be an interesting one, because that is a very definite fantasy of like being the person who's really tough, stood in the front, probably with a shield, just getting punched,
absolutely battered.
Yeah, and then not falling.
And then
so it'd be interesting to see that mechanically. No one's playing a ranger, but Monkey Ranger.
I was a ranger last time. Let me see if there's anything.
You was a ranger last time.
Monkey Ranger.
Oh, the ranger's hope feature has changed. I think they've changed all the hope features,
because
that was not what I had last time. When you succeed an attack roll with a weapon, use that same roll again on 2 additional adversaries within the range of the attack. That's pretty cool. I think my last one was just like spend 3 hope, add 2 evasion or something. Whereas I think these are a bit more interesting for sure.
That's cool. Just while I'm looking at this artwork here, one other thing that I've noticed, I mean, the artwork is amazing, but the sort of like the representation and accessibility representation is just like massively on point. For though, like, I'm gonna flick ahead. I'm gonna spoiler this.
Find those cool battle wielders.
Yeah, so there is. Like, when I saw this over the weekend, I let out a proper like, yes,
yes, queen,
yes. I'm not gonna find it now, am I? Oh no, I think it's at the end of the. Is it in the loot equipment? Where is it? No, skeleton. Where are you? Oh wait, is it? Wait. Well, I'm just going to use the contents. Everyone, I'm just gonna.
While Dan goes and finds that, Livy, is there anything? That's changed? Because obviously it's got its own little companion sheet as well.
Let's have a look at the companion stuff. Stress leveling companion. It all looks about the same, I would say.
I didn't realize there was so much in the companion.
Oh, that's why I was using Vinny all the time. He did more like damage than Rayri.
Found it.
His bite was like 2d10 or something ridiculous. It was just...
Ladies, gentlemen, and creatures of unfathomable beauty, a 2-page combat wheelchair spread. Just there. So cool. Just and like there's options and like how it gives you ideas on how you might kind of implement that in like an inclusive way, and like so for example the arcane frame models, which is these 4 here, they give you some sort of like dark little pictures. So there's a little Dracona like kobold like in a light wheel frame. There's a knight in an armored wheelchair, and then there's this arcane frame wheelchair, which it's a bit hard for me to show you, but it is
weird.
It's just legs.
It's a guy in a wheelchair that's got 4 legs, 4 like feline legs.
Look how happy he is about it.
He's proper chuffed, isn't he?
I just want to know, is it like an animal that's been like taxidermied that now has a motor, or
that's Warlock. That's the Warlock character that Dan is designing.
Yeah.
Just little legs.
But yeah, it's like stuff like there's been a few pictures I've seen in the rulebook where I've just gone, you know what, like that is massively inclusive, and like it's not hard. Like it's
not hard.
Yeah, it's just there. Like it's matter of fact, as it should be. Like, are you on a naturey augment like org arm? Fine, go nuts.
Yeah.
It's nice as well because for them DMs or players who kind of go like, "Oh, you wouldn't be an adventurer and be in a wheelchair." It's just like, bugger off. It's just it's in the rule books now.
You can
have a bit of imagination and grow up.
Yeah, in a fantasy setting where you can be anything you like, that does also extend to I want to be an adventurer in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
Like, cool. Right, moving on. Rogue, Rouge. So Theo.
Theo's been off of the chat. Like
Theo's blowing up in the chat. For the review of what Rogue can do, read the chat.
Theo's got it covered.
Next.
Yeah. Theo's helping us be efficient.
There's another shiny man in here who looks very cool as well.
This one? That is a fungrel.
Yeah, he's super cool. Or she, or they. I don't know. I'm not their mum.
A mushroom rogue. But the cap is like the
like a mushroom sort of tri-point. Yeah.
That's hot.
I mean, if fungrel weren't nightmare fuel, I'd be all over it.
What are you talking about? Ruby was wonderful and sweet and whimsical, and she could talk to the dead.
But couldn't she like absorb their health as well?
Yeah.
At one point,
she, like, eat them?
That whole point that
lasted like one round of rules.
Changed so much because it was just like, oh, she can seep into the ground and then she can talk to other fungrel like anywhere.
Talk
and
to any other
like,
fungrel.
No, she can suck the life force from a dead body It was like, oh, okay.
So, like, wait, scratch that.
I think it would probably change from the first one because, like, imagine being a GM and being like, my big bad is a fungrel, and then one of your players also playing a fungrel, and then just like periodically through the campaign, like the fungrel rose going, "Hey, little bitch." Screw you. just like trash talking the BBEG from the other side of the world. Just like, yeah, you smell. Yes. So moving on, Seraph. Well, I promise I'll pick up the pace a little bit. So Seraph is like the first like core Daggerheart unique class, I would argue. It sits somewhere between like cleric, paladin. It is like the holy vessel, the holy warrior. Yeah. You have choices between glowy sword or wings.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I had to choose glowy sword for Azekar because Dan wouldn't let me have wings.
I'm scarred. I'm scarred by level 1 flying in D&D.
Much like everyone else, the hope feature has changed for Seraph. So originally it was pretty pants originally. It was like if you spend 3 hope, you can re-roll one of your hope dice. Like one of your prayer dice. And I was like, cool. But this one is like spend 3 hope to clear a hit point on an ally within close range, which I think is pretty good.
Yeah.
That's so something I have noticed is that in the beta, sometimes it felt like you collectively had like too much hope and it didn't seem like you had anywhere to channel that into beyond like back-to-back tag teams. But things like this, I've noticed there's a lot more stuff that calls for hope. So I think it's good in so much as they become informed choices. But then also it means like, well, you're not going to do back-to-back tag teams, which I really enjoy the tag teams, for example, for anyone who knows what the tag teams are. But I felt like sometimes it, like the luster was lost when you were just like training.
Because it's just like, and also because you can't take any more hope, you're just like, well, if I could just blast out 3 hope and do a tag team, I might as well, and then I can only fill it up again. Yeah.
So that was a bit of a shame, but Seraph, cool. Flight, magic sword or magic wings. Sorcerer. So the sorcerer isn't directly comparable to, for example, the D&D sorcerer, but it does have this idea of like being able to manipulate the magic that they use. So elemental origin, primal origin. I'm interested to see what Georgia does with elemental origin. I think if I played Daggerheart as a player, this would probably be my go-to, because you choose an element. My first, like a big core D&D character I once upon a time played. The character I played when I first met Julia, was a fire, like a pyromancer sorcerer. It was Mary. It was Meridius. So that's what I do.
Yeah, I like that you can kind of specialize in because it's kind of, whenever I've played like more magic-y characters, I've always just tried to just constantly pick the spells and force them into the box that I want, where I'm just like, I'm trying to play like a spooky dookie, so I've got to only select. Whereas this way you can be like, oh, well, everything he does involves water, or everything he does involves lightning,
Warrior. So this is the person with a big weapon that hits you, as opposed to the person with a big weapon that gets hit. Dan was playing this in Tales. I don't think his evasion was up at 11 once upon a time, so that's interesting. But yeah,
I think all the evasion scores have
changed.
Because my Abe's
evasion 12, I'm never going to hit Theo. Okay.
Yeah, because when I played like a rogue in the very beginning, when I was Greg, my evasion was like 6 or something, and I was just like, how is he meant to be a rogue if he's just like so easily hit?
Yes, that's true. No mercy, 3 hope to gain +1 to your attack rolls until your next rest.
Nice.
Nice.
So that can even go on for sessions, depending on.
Yeah. That's the only way I'm going to overcome it.
What's really interesting, and I've noticed in some of it, some of sort of like the character like rules and stuff, is that they still use next session and long rest, short rest. So the fact that they've kept sessions in there is really interesting.
So I did have a little glance at that. So yeah, short rest, long rest, they are mechanically depicted. The use of the word session is literally until the end of your Daggerheart session. It does say if you're going to be playing for a long time, like maybe your session ends when you break for lunch or something. So if we end up doing a 12-hour finale, we'll break that into sessions.
We'll hold you to that, Dan.
Well, good. I'm holding you to that as well. Finally, wizard. Wizard does magic things from books. I think we all know what a wizard is. School of knowledge, school of war. Beautiful. First off, my favourite piece of art in the whole book is this cheeky little clank bard.
His little hat on.
Just the... You know exactly what he's playing on that little loop, don't you? So the ancestries it goes through. Now, I think for our purposes, elsewhere has its own ancestries. We've got Lorvar, Asavar, Goblins, Sprites, Wolfkin, Keepers, Rajani, and Dragon Scent, and Sangrevar, I guess. So not what is in here. That said, while I just kind of slowly flick through so you can see some of the art and all its blurry glory. Oh, Shadowheart. It's some Saturday morning Shadowheart. We are going to be using like some of the ancestry rules, very specifically the mixed ancestry rules that let you pick and mix like ancestry features from the ancestries here, and then you kind of combine them. But we've kind of gone through, we've made a list and kind of gone which of the ancestry features suit an elsewhere goblin, and then we just kind of I've presented those to the players as options. Fawns and furbolgs. Something I have kind of noticed, maybe there's been some kind of rhyme and reason to this. A lot of the ancestries have sort of like parallels to certain characters in Critical Role campaigns. So I suspect we'll definitely be seeing a Fongrel soon. Because we've seen pretty much like we've got goblins, we've got we've had recently they've had fawns, halflings, humans, inferni. Does it say what the plural of infernis is? I'm going to say inferni. Inferni, lots of really cool art about their horns and how their horns would kind of be presented. See, this is what I meant. Twinkie Cat Boys, the Final Fantasy 14, like lover boys there, or you just go full Shere Khan on.
Yeah, exactly. I like that guy.
Yeah. Yes. So that's Qatari. We have orcs. We have we have the ribbits.
Yeah.
Cheeky chap.
Do they still have their long tongue feature? Yes.
They do. They do. Yes. I feel like this guy, this little dude,
he's so cute.
He's like the mascot of the beta, isn't he?
He's so cute.
I say he. I assume it's a he.
Yeah.
He's got his little acorn sort of dagger.
He's got a little acorn dagger.
Yes.
And a leaf.
Sorry, beg your pardon. Simia. Monkey people. These are quite cool.
I really like the Simia. I do want to play a Simia at some point.
And then mixed ancestry, which is what I've just been referring to, which just says how do you mix, but then it has got some artwork. An Infernus ribbit Wait, please focus. For the love of God, focus.
People have to see this fairy monkey. It's
fairy
monkey. There's a furnace frog. There's a fungal. Oh God, a fungal galapper.
What would they called him?
Maybe it's good that
Flitterin.
And the little. Yes. Little fairy monkey.
They know what people want to see.
They want what people want to see. That little fairy monkey. Oh my goodness.
And in colour, a clank.
Dracona.
That's pretty badass.
Yeah, that is badass.
So then we have the rules on community. So this is very much sort of like the backgrounds. It's like what flavour of society, what flavour of the world did you grow up in, basically. So it gives you features off the back of it. So highborn, a highborn community gives you privilege. That's telling.
That's on the nose, isn't it?
Yes.
Lawborn are well read. Orderborn are dedicated. And like throughout in the campaign frames again, it kind of looks at these communities and says, what is an Orderborn like in this setting? Like what are the things that you might consider? But Ridgeborn, so on the mountains, Seaborn on the waters, Slyborn in the criminal underbellies, Underborn in subterranean communities, Wanderborn for the travelers, Wildborn for out in the wilds. Oh, that's it.
Those community features are still pretty much the same as well.
Yeah, very similar. Yeah.
Okay, amazing. And then another couple of pages on how to make the game your own. So adjusting abilities, playing disability with purpose and respect. How you might go about doing that. Again, it's all just really, really good stuff. I think I'll put my hands up and say that I haven't kind of checked some of these names, but the fact that there are sections of the book where it just says by so and so, I think it's really good that this implies to me, and I wouldn't expect anything less from Darrington, that they almost certainly have approached the right people, the people with appropriate voices for the subject matter they want to talk about, and then just put their words in the rulebook. I really like that. Just having a quick glance at chat. Yes, very good, everyone. Very good. Tips on how to play blind, visually impaired, or deaf characters. So that's cool. And then onto the game proper. So I think some of this we might gloss over a little bit. The general flow of the game, is very standard TTRPG stuff. So GM narrates, the players and GM ask questions, the players and GM answer the questions, choose and resolve your actions, you repeat. That's every TTRPG ever. And it works a treat. So one big core mechanic that's different to a lot of others, there is no initiative, activation order, anything like that. Instead, what they refer to is the spotlight. So anytime a character becomes a focus of a scene, they're in the spotlight. So whether that's in a combat, it's your turn, what do you do? The spotlight is on you, or the bard approaching, stepping up to give a speech to the crazed monarch, you're in the spotlight. Even long rest campfire scene, 2 player characters sitting around sharing stories from the war, spotlight. That's how they refer to it. That's a nice, and it's a lot more. It's designed to be kind of quite free flowing and free form. So the spotlight naturally kind of moves in whatever direction the narrative is kind of directs it to. And the same goes for combat. If you swing at the charging ogre and miss, then the spotlight might naturally move to the ogre, who then swings at you in return. So that's the spotlight. It does have an optional tool. I'm mulling over whether to use this or not, but this is more of a like an agreed, because the spotlight could theoretically keep coming back to the same person over and over and over again. The spotlight tracker kind of puts a limit on how many times the camera basically focuses on one player before, like, so in here it suggests it can only come back to the same person 3 times before everyone else has like had a go, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But I
think that's how we pretty much played it in Tales.
In Tales, I did it for 2. Yeah. 2 activations. So play around with that a little bit. And then, everything that sort of like the GM does here is referred to as like a move. Or like whenever you do something, you're making a move. So that's a very similar terminology to Blades in the Dark, Powered by the Apocalypse, that sort of stuff. Cool. Duality dice, we've already kind of discussed that. What roll 2d12, you add them together, you see what rolled highest. If you roll doubles, you roll a crit. So that is a 1 in 12 chance of critting in Daggerheart, as opposed to a 1 in 20 chance in D&D. Using Hope. So Hope is a player resource that you accrue. So every time you roll the duality dice for an action roll, if your Hope die is higher, you gain a Hope. There are other things that happen, other abilities, other sort of spell cards that also award Hope. But Hope is this resource that you can use to help allies utilize an experience. So what we were saying earlier about those like character background bits that you build up, you can spend a Hope to use one of those. Initiate a tag team roll, which is the very like anime like speed lines, 2 people coming back to back like Power Rangers and then doing a big attack, or like helping each other to overcome a like a skill check or anything like that. And then there are some features that require Hope to activate, so Hope features. Conversely, the GM has Fear, so every time you roll higher on the Fear dice on the duality roll, the GM gets a Fear, and it's basically the same, just in reverse. Evasion, hit points, stress, we've all kind of touched on these. Action rolls, so this is just like how you would make a roll, which is you pick which ability. There is an interesting thing where like skills are hard tethered to ability scores. So if you are trying to convince like a warring chieftain that you should be allowed to stay in her camp, you might say, I'm going to try and persuade her, but like with strength instead of presence.
Like sort of Ticket to the Gun show.
Yeah, for example. It's the Mr. T version of stealth. Like, intimidating. Just nothing.
I'm going to intimidate the shadows to make sure they cover me.
Yes, precisely. So yes, again, relative standard. It's all designed to be quite freeform, quite forgiving, and sort of like open to interpretation from the players. Because of the Hope-Fear dynamic, you have 5 potential outcomes from a duality roll. You either succeed with Hope, so you do the thing and you get Hope tokens, so like, yay! You succeed with Fear, you do the thing, but then there's a hiccup or a setback, so the rogue opening the door to the castle guard's AGM. You fail with Hope, so you don't do the thing, but it's not an absolute disaster. And you fail with Fear, absolute disaster. And then finally a crit, which is a super succeed with Hope.
Exactly.
Other special types of rolls, things like unarmed attacks. Spellcast rolls, the rules will just refer to make a spellcast roll, make a spellcast check, and then depending on what class you are, that dictates what ability you're rolling off of. So Seraphs will roll against their strength, sorcerers roll off their instinct, I believe, so on and so forth. Damage rolls. So I think, damage rolls here. So we've mentioned it before. Damage seems to have kind of come down, especially from the monsters. I don't know if that's much the case with the players. What's interesting is proficiency in Daggerheart is like starts at like 1 and then goes up. And what proficiency does is dictate, like if you are rolling with a sword that does D10 damage, you do D10 if you have 1 proficiency. You do 2d10 if you have 2 proficiency, 3d10 if you have 3 proficiency. So that's how you scale as you go up through the tiers. That caught me out a little bit at the very, very beginning. But yeah, you can start at 1 proficiency, you can max out at 6. By the time you get to like 10th level, you could well be doing like 6d12 plus whatever damage, which is quite cool. Another picture that I absolutely love in the bottom of page 99. Really chuffed about that. Direct damage, basically you can't reduce it, so you can't use armor to reduce it. Advantage disadvantage is a plus or a minus d6 to your duality die roll. So if you roll a 15 on your 2 duality dice and 3 on your advantage dice, you get a score of 18. Domain cards. So I'm trying to get this through as quick as I can. So domain cards, which are what your class are built on, when you get to level 5 and above, you will end up with, like, basically your cards make up like a hand that you hold. But when you get to level 5, you'll have gained enough domain cards that you can't have them all active in your hand. So then you get into this cool idea of like you choose which abilities you want to activate. So you usually choose them in a long. It's a bit like a wizard in D&D choosing spells after a long rest. You choose your domain cards, but then you also have the ability to like hot swap cards during the day. You pay stress to do that. So if, for example, the wizard goes, "Oh, you know what? I think if I had access to these 3 spells instead, we'd be like I didn't realize we'd need these." They could hot swap, so that's cool. A couple of conditions for combat. Maps range movement. So yeah, one kind of, it's a bit of a halfway house in terms of representation, because Daggerheart doesn't use a hard and fast scale for measurement. It instead uses like melee, very close, far, very far. And it gives you examples of like what each of those might be. So for example, very close is about 5 to 10 feet away. So for us, we're going to be using Foundry to play, which will have a grid, but we'll just have like stock ranges. So we know melee is 5 feet, very close is 10 feet, close is 30 feet, far is like 100 feet, so on and so forth. But yeah, in person, it's so you can just sort of like lay models out. You don't have to have things specifically spaced out. You can just be a bit more. You can just say to the GM, how far away am I? The GM can turn around and go, "You're far away." Cool. I think this is all basically the same, isn't it?
Pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Gold isn't granular unless you want it to be.
I love it. I love that.
I'm so glad, because gold is one of my biggest bugbears.
Yeah.
Because
it kind of becomes so complicated, like so obsolete in the end anyway.
Yes,
where you're just
it's really pernickety when it counts, and then suddenly it stops mattering.
Yeah.
But yeah, the way they've done it here, gold is measured in handfuls, bags, and chests. You slay the dragon, you loot, you find its hoard. How much gold is it? A chest's worth. Done.
What, like?
Done. You can't have more than a chest, because you physically can't carry that much gold around. Yeah, there are rules to have individual coins counted, but yeah, it's like what I consider the most hilarious fantasy metric. It's 10 handfuls to the bag, 10 bags to the chest. So yeah, loving that. And it also mentions things like, I want to flick a gold coin into the wishing well. I want to tip the bartender. Like, you just say it, you just do it.
Yeah. I don't have to be like, oh wait, have I got the gold to be able to do a tip?
Let me count my coppers first.
Exactly. So downtime, short and long rest. I think we all know roughly what that's all about. But I guess interestingly, in long rests, again, this is kind of similar to Blades in the Dark, I would argue. You choose what you're going to do during one of your rests. So it might be, you tend to your wounds, you clear your stress, you repair your armor, you prepare, which gives you a hope, or you work on a project in your downtime. And that project can basically be whatever you want. There's some kind of rules, but yeah, it's just like, I want to build a trebuchet. Okay. This did come up in our beta. Death. I really like how they handled death.
Yeah, I like death.
So the way death is handled in Daggerheart is, if you drop to 0 hit points, you are dying, but you get to choose how it affects you. So you can choose to go out in a blaze of glory, where the character embraces death. Take one action at the GM's discretion, which critically succeeds. Then you cross through the veil of death. So you get that one big, you get to spit out your one-liner through sort of like bloody teeth, and then fire the cannon before slumping over. So that's cool. Avoid death is you don't die, you drop unconscious. You work with the GM to describe how the situation worsens. You can't move, you can't act. You return to consciousness when an ally clears, gets you another hit point back. And then you run the risk of gaining a scar. And scars, Libby, you alluded to this earlier. A scar reduces the maximum number of hope that you can have on your character. So you can't just constantly get yourself KO'd.
Yeah, just be like, well, I don't die anyway.
And then choose not to die.
Once you've got no hope slots left, you can't do anything anyway. So,
well, interestingly, if your character runs out of hope, they retire.
Just halfway through a battle. No more.
So yeah, and then Nate, you pulled this off beautifully. Risk it all. You roll your duality dice. If you roll with fear, you die. But if you roll hope, you have a real anime protagonist moment, and you stand up. There's explosions in the background. You clear your stress, you clear your wounds, and you're straight back into it. So yeah, you're literally
born again.
You're born again.
Yeah, that was good fun. That was really good fun.
It says, so interestingly, in Resurrection, it is possible to resurrect a dead character, though it's often a long, difficult, and costly process. The GM details the steps the party needs to make. There is a resurrection spell for Splendor characters. That's level 10. So there's no natural native inbuilt party resurrection until max level. But I suppose when you've got these options, you can choose how it affects you. It's not as you don't need a revivify type spell when you've got these. Cool. Additional rules, which are just niche points. Do you round up? You round up. How do you reroll dice? How do you calculate incoming damage? What I think is really good is pages like this, player best practices, just some cornerstones for the players to stick to. Embrace danger, use your resources, tell the story, discover your character. It's all just really good advice, but it's nice that it's there. Leveling up, you level up as and when, and at The levels are broken up into 4 tiers with like difficulty at various levels. Certain things will happen, like you gain additional experiences, you get +1 bonuses to your proficiency, and so on and so forth. And then also every time you level up, you get to choose how you're going to level up with advancements. So there's these sort of like check boxes that you can tick as you go along. So there's you're in a way you're kind of limited to what you can level up with. You can't just pump your proficiency to +6 by level 5 kind of thing. Cool. So that's just the general leveling up. I won't touch too much on the equipment because equipment's equipment. What I do find interesting is that the weapons that they have available, there are much more sort of like fantasy centric weapon selection. So you've got your swords, your axes, your maces, your spears, for example. But then you've also got things like arcane gauntlets, hallowed axe, hand runes. So hand runes are a one-handed magic weapon that does D10 magical damage at very close range. So they are like, the Doctor Strange style, like runes around your wrists. The returning blade is a boomerang sword, like a boomerang blade of sorts. The wands have a very far range. And the abilities that they proc on, so something like, say, D&D, where nearly everything procs off of strength or dexterity, there's a much wider range of abilities that it runs off of. So a greatsword bounces off your strength, sure, but a rapier, if we consider who might wield a rapier, procs off your presence.
Oh.
So you have to be a real
really
flashy,
charismatic,
flashy git. Like the more flashy and charismatic you are, the better you are with the rapier or the cutlass, for example.
It tracks.
Yes. So interesting stuff there. It just means that if you've got a wizard and you decide to take a quarterstaff, because wizards have quarterstaffs, for example, then you'll be happy that it uses instinct to attack with in melee.
Yeah, I think that is the thing about, especially if you play non sort of melee based characters, is that you're just like, well, I'm a wizard. What am I going to do with a dagger?
Yeah. Precisely.
Like nothing. But at least this way you can also have something in your back pocket that isn't a spell slot or a cantrip. You can keep doing something and have a weapon that continuously gets used rather than becoming an afterthought.
Next couple of pages are just higher level versions of the weapons, including like special named weapons like the runes of ruination, and then a lot of the weapons have like features. So for example, broadswords are reliable, so you get +1 to attack rolls. Warhammers are heavy, so you get -1 to your evasion. Easy stuff.
It's sneaking around with a massive
otherwise, armor. So armor, they've got as a list standard. You've got gambeson, leather, chainmail, or plate. And there is just a point that says if you want a wizard in full plate armor, it doesn't actually have to be full plate armor. It could be heavily spell thread embroidered robes. And the reason why you have -2 to your evasion and -1 to your agility is because you're concentrating on keeping your magical physical defenses up. Fine. Great. And off the back of that also, there is no like armor proficiency or anything like that. So you can absolutely be a wizard in full plate armor.
Doesn't matter. Yeah,
it just kind of balances off with, well, it makes you easier to hit, makes you less agile. Fine. So yeah, armor, loots, with things like the pendants and the lots of loot, lots of consumables. A little example of play. And then we run into more of the GM stuff. So running an adventure. So a lot of these kind of touch points are the same as they were in beta. It's for the GM principles: begin and end of fiction, collaborate at all times, especially during conflict, fill the world with life, wonder, and danger, ask questions, incorporate the answers, make every role important, play to find out what happens, hold on gently. Again, these are all just really, really good.
Dan, could you just go up to, I don't know what it would be in the book. I think it's like if you go just back one page.
This little guy.
Yeah, show that little guy to Livy.
Oh no, I have seen, and I am in love.
Yes.
So cute.
And then is that an onion or an eye? Down there in the either way. Yeah, little guy. Little guy.
She's so cute. She's got little dungarees on. She's got a little eye thing. There's like a little lizard in a collar. I mean, perfect. It's all perfect.
Yeah, a lot of GM best practice stuff here. I won't read these out. Specifically, interestingly, pitfalls to avoid. Don't undermine the heroes. Don't tell the players what to roll. Don't always tell the players what to roll, I should say. Don't let the scenes drag. Don't have singular solutions to problems. Don't overplan. Don't hoard fear. Again, all good stuff. I think it's stuff like this that I wanted to. When we were playing the beta, there was a part of me that was like, what is there that's really kind of differentiating Daggerheart from something like D&D? And it's like we knew it was the narrative focus. So things like no singular solutions, don't tell the players what to roll, like that, those sort of things will really help let your players inform the direction in a more collaborative way. Cool. So how to be a GM is the next bit. So the GMs aren't trusted with 2 dice. They roll d20s. Like always.
You'll just end up putting one up your nose, Dan.
Yeah.
Exactly.
One up each nostril. And then
Yeah.
Pop the cheeks out of him. So yeah, GMs use d20s. Interestingly, it does mean that when you look at probability curves, the players will more naturally gravitate towards 13 plus their ability mods as their average outcome, because it'll be a bell curve. Mm-hmm. But whereas the GM has a linear 1 to 20 outcome, so the GM's results are naturally going to be a lot more swingy, which I think is actually kind of low-key genius, because I think we can all agree it absolutely sucks in TTRPGs to wait however long for it to be your turn and then the dice to be a 1. Yeah. And you're like, right, well, okay, I gotta wait until I go back around the houses. Whereas, like, if the GM's still, like, if you're like, on average, I'm gonna roll 15, like, I'm most likely to roll this number, that's nicer. But then for the GM, when it's just like, oh, is my character gonna get hit? And it's literally up to me. It's not 50-50, but it's got that kind of more exciting risk reward to it. And the GM's got the ability to be an arsehole if things aren't going their way, so there's that. It tells you when to ask for rolls, when to make moves. So basically, when something doesn't go the player's way, so whether they fail a roll, whether they roll with fear, generally speaking, the action flicks back to the GM. And the GM will normally make a move, and a move is very much like, sometimes the moves are obvious, but it would be, for example, I'm pretty sure there's a list of examples. Yeah, so a move doesn't necessarily have to be, oh, that archer is now going to shoot you. Like the guard's now going to kick you down the stairs. Some of the examples on page 152 are show how the world reacts, ask a question, build on the answer, make an NPC act in accordance with their motive, show the collateral damage, shift the environment, take away an opportunity, use a PC's backstory against them, make a PC mark stress as a consequence of their actions, force the group to split up. Like a lot of these are narrative stuff that isn't necessarily like you're complicating the scene to make it a bit more interesting. Like of this long list here, only one of them is spotlight and adversary. It does kind of. There's a bit later on where it says, like, for example, take away an opportunity permanently, and the example it gives is along the lines of the Guardian can see that there's an enemy spellcaster across the bridge, who's like raining hellfire down on the allies. So this Guardian leaps onto the bridge and then just makes a valiant dash to try and get to the spellcaster to stop them, like, bombing their friends. The GM asks for an agility roll to get across the bridge quick enough. And like on a fear, for example, you might pseudo spotlight the mage by saying the mage turns around, sees you coming, and then launches a devastating explosive spell that shatters the bridge. So it's not like on the character sheet. It's not in the monster stat block or anything, but they're doing something narratively, and then you're like, the bridge is destroyed. You succeeded, so you're to grips with the maid, but the bridge behind you is now wrecked, and you can't go back the way you came. But that's how you can make your character, your adversaries do stuff without actually making them like move, take an action. Wow.
Yeah.
Cool. Fear, we've touched on that. Very good. This is something I was wondering, how much fear should I spend in a scene? It kind of gives you an idea depending on how high the stakes are: incidental, minor, standard, major, climactic. It makes me realize I was not spending enough fear during the beta playtest. And then, what you can do with your fear rolls, setting difficulties, very, very good. Right, I'm just going to flick ahead because we've just gone past 9 o'clock. Are we happy to run until like 9:30?
Yeah. I can stay for about 10 minutes.
10 minutes, okay.
Okay. You guys can continue. I don't have to be here.
Very true. Very, very true. Maybe I'll grab a screenshot of you and then just leave you sat there. Well, tell you what then. I will flick right through to, I'm not going to show you the adversary section because spoilers, but there's lots of stuff in here.
There's lots of boys.
For GMs who are watching, the adversaries in here are basically, it's all the adversaries that were in the beta. I think there might be a couple more here and there, but looking through it, they have been adapted. I say a lot of the time it's things like the damage has been reduced, but consequently it's the player characters are a little bit squishier. Really interesting stuff, including rules on how to like improvise your own. So I just wanted to really quickly touch on the campaign frames because I thought these were really, really interesting. So these are like the campaign settings that Darrington Press are presenting. The first is the Witherwild. So this is all about like basically this magic has caused. Fanewick was once a place of great abundance and peace. When Haven invaded the wilds and forced the land into eternal spring, a dangerous bloom known as the Witherwild took hold and now threatens the life of all who live there. In the Witherwild campaign, you'll play unlikely heroes from humble beginnings who are reckoning with their newfound duty to save Fanewick's people from dangerous corruption. So it's very much nature's gone crazy,
Nature gone crazy.
And it gives you tones of feels, themes, very good touchstones. So like looking at this, I realized, well, there's going to be things from here that we're going to be using for Titan Isles, so that's cool. And then kind of gives you again like descriptions on how the communities would be affected, how the ancestries might be a bit different, like a fungal in a world where the nature is growing rampant. Ooh. Classes, what happens with classes, how players should conduct themselves, or things to consider. Little plot hooks here and there. Very, very fun. 5 banners burning. So this is a war epic. It's designed to be a lot more long form, based around basically 5 kingdoms that have a very tenuous piece that is no longer a piece. So it's very kind of like Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Song of Ice and Fire, Avatar: Last Airbender. Last Airbender, the first season. Dragon Age Inquisition, Eberron Rising from the Last War. Yeah, very cool stuff. So again, info on like what the communities are, how being from different kingdoms might affect you, and what caused the 5 kingdoms to be at each other's throats again. And then also like additional mechanics. So for example, in this one, it's like reputation, like faction relationships. Beast Feast. Dan P. would wet himself with giddiness. This is Delicious in Dungeon / Monster Hunt. Oh, I've literally named it. Delicious in Dungeon, Monster Hunter World, one piece. This is, you go into dungeons, you hunt monsters, you defeat them, and then you chop them up and cook them. That's a really, really fun one. What I really enjoyed is there's a whole... there's new weapons, including the enchanted mop.
It's so cute. They've just got like food-based armor. You can wear an apron.
You can wear aprons, a leather apron.
They have a baking tray breastplate.
And then there's a whole new rule set for like the cooking minigame.
Yeah, that's so cute.
And then based on how well you cook a meal, that dictates like how much health, how much stress. For example, people heal when you feed the meal to them. Just loads of really fun stuff there. Age of Umbra. So this is what the Critical Role gang are going to be doing a live stream of. Doing like an 8-session live stream. This is to prove that Daggerheart doesn't have to be
whimsical,
fancy and whimsical. The touchstones are Dark Souls, Berserk, Blasphemous. It is like the world has ended, everything's rubbish. Help. Like everyone's
it's bones, all gone wrong.
Exactly. Everyone's bones on the outside. Age of Umbra. I haven't had a chance to look at this properly, but I think there's going to be some interesting stuff in here. Just to add that extra like layer that wasn't necessarily present in the beta playtest. So very interested in that. Motherboard. This is really intriguing.
That one, I want to play that right now.
In a world where magic takes the form of the technology left behind by a long-fallen civilization, a new threat rises as a malicious virus spreads through machines that wander the wastes. I read that and was like, what is it? Horizon Zero Dawn. Get it. Mortal Engines, Mad Max Fury Road, Final Fantasy, Full Metal Alchemist. Yeah. So that's the sci fantasy trope. Really, really cool there. This is a bit more in depth. There's a lot of impetus on like reflavoring things. But the one thing that really grabbed my eye when I was flicking through was the page on where is it? How to speak in circuitry.
Yeah. It's got a whole little language.
It's a whole language based on circuit boards. And like this is translatable using this. So that was interesting. That'd be be fascinated to see someone go hell for leather in this setting. Literally learning languages, like getting Tolkien up in here. Colossus of the Dry Lands. Wild West meets Shadow of the Colossus.
Yeah, this one looks really cool.
Chef's kiss. Something's gone horribly wrong, and now these massive titans are like roaming around, and everybody's
a cowboy.
Everyone's wearing ponchos.
So what happens if it's dusty and there's big things to fight? You just have to got to get your poncho on.
Exactly.
You gotta fight something and have a train.
Exactly. But yeah, so there's spoilers. We might end up pulling certain bits from this campaign frame, for example. The word Titan, the Titan Isles being a bit of a spoiler. But we, to be fair, in our like pre-recorded session 0, we had decided, wouldn't it be cool if like you were fighting on the back of something? So yeah, it's got rules for sort of like firearms because it's Wild West.
You see the Titan, the train.
Yeah. So then it gives examples of how to stat block these colossals, as they're referred to. So whilst you can get like natural colossals, like this one here, which is made out of a big old mountain, it then also, his artwork of the idea of fighting on the back of the beast. But then it also gives you a train colossal.
So cool.
So cool.
So this is proper. Like I assume we might have all played the video games where you're literally fighting you're scrambling across the boss as you're fighting them. It gives you examples of how you might frame that from literally playing it. So here, for example, it's got, you just have these like not post-its, but these like little Filofax cards with each of the sections, and you move the models from card to card to represent where they are on the beast.
I'm on his arm. I'm trying to cut his arm off.
That picture reminds me of the sort of blown speaker version of the Thomas the Tank Engine theme.
Really interesting because the monsters end up being composites of so you can keep on attacking the back left upper leg, and then if you manage to destroy that, something happens. If we've played Horizon Zero Dawn, it's very similar. But then also just be like, hey, let's just fight on the back of a giant dust vulture dragon.
Love it.
And with that, and a massive giant spider mummy.
Yeah. It's cool.
And then we're into the appendix. Babies. Just a little appendix. So the appendix. The main cards are referred to here, so that's handy. And then we're into the back of the book. And
does it have your favourite card, Dan, in it?
It does. We already know it's there. It's there. Thank God. That's the only reason I created my character.
Where is it? Yeah.
Page,
I
page
need to...
330.
330.
Right at the top.
I need to have a word with Mr. Mercer and Mr. Spencer. This ability has been the bane of my life. I'm at least you've got more things to spend hope on now. That is I would argue that was a bit more in depth than we were anticipating. But I thank you two for sticking it out, and I thank you watching for sticking along as well. I hope you're as excited for Daggerheart as we are. We're mainly excited because we've got a campaign using the rules.
Because we're going to play it.
Because we're going to play it.
If I'll mention it now for those of you who are still watching. But if you are interested in Daggerheart, I know that obviously the pre-orders have arrived at the moment. Then it's mostly out of stock if you didn't manage to grab a pre-order. But we have an opportunity for you, thanks to the amazing folk over at Demiplane, which was the digital tool set that supports Daggerheart, we have 5 Daggerheart Nexus codes to give away, and that will give you access to the whole kind of digital version of the toolkit of the rulebook. I can show you. It's basically this right here. So it's got all of the rules that we just flicked through, including all of the art. It includes like the character builders and so on and so forth. So for everyone who's interested, here is the champ himself, good old Gembrick. And
no, it's not allowed. He's not allowed anymore.
He's not allowed. Oh, there's just so many updates. So yeah, you've got your character builds, character builder in here. So again, this is what we'll be using for campaign 3, as well as sort of like easily accessed rules and basically everything here, like in digital format. We have five of those to hand out. So we're running a competition. Because Elsewhere is collaborative, we would love for viewers to be able to get involved as well. So all we ask for you to have a chance to win is to create an NPC for the Elsewhere setting. Hopefully, the NPCs that are created can then be dropped into campaign 3 for the players to kind of interact with. So we're going to kind of leave it open for a little while until we get a number of NPCs. We've already had a fair few. You can leave if you're watching this now on like YouTube or Twitch, by all means, drop your descriptions in the comments, like in the chat. We will pick our 5 favorite NPCs. Those NPCs will get translated into campaign 3, and then I'll contact you to give you a copy of Daggerheart Nexus for free. Absolutely for free. And then you can kind of leaf through some of the stuff that we flew through in your own time.
I think it's worth saying that, like, obviously people may be very new to the Elsewhere setting, so they may not very well know the heritages. So if you do just say, like, they are a dwarf, they are a blacksmith, but they keep on having arguments with their wife or something along those lines, then Dan will be able to translate that into the Elsewhere sort of world.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, so I absolutely. But I'll try and keep the characters as sort of like authentic to, like, as close to what you presented. Just put the Elsewhere veneer over them. Yeah, absolutely right. But if you are wondering about things like the heritages in Elsewhere, like who the people are made of, well, we've got loads of content here on the channel for you to catch up with. We're about to start campaign 3, but you've got Year 1, which was our first ever campaign, Elysia Rising, our second campaign, Tales from Elsewhere, which was also Daggerheart, with which these 2 lovely folks played in. So yeah, if you're liking kind of us, what we're doing, there's loads for you to catch up with. Cool. I think we've done what do we think?
Jolly good.
Great.
Yeah, it's all right, isn't it?
It's all right.
Took them long enough.
No, I'm really, really looking forward to it. And I'm hoping that campaign 3 will be a sterling success. I'm just really, really excited for sort of like the greater focus on narrative storytelling. So cool. Well, thank you all for watching. Thank you too for reviewing.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate I spoke a lot, but thank you for being here and throwing out some pointers. We will see you all next Monday.
Next Monday.
For episode 1.
We're on
campaign 3. Titan Isles.
Yay.
Take care, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye.